So welcome to the workshop, Response Tools for the Language Classroom. I'll share my screen also so that you can see it. My name is Tore Talmo. I work at the Norwegian University of Science and Technology, which is the biggest university in Norway. We are located in Trondheim. We also have a couple of other campuses in 2 other cities, Gjøvik and Ålesund. Latest corona news from Norway is that Ålesund went into a complete lockdown tonight because there were some virus at the campus, actually at the new campus. So it's getting closer to Trondheim also, even though we don't have anybody infected the last 3 to 5 days. But still, we're online, even though we would have liked to present this in person. We're doing it online, which should be fine. What we're going to do today is that we're going to talk about response tools for the language classroom. And the main reason, or there are several reasons why I'm doing this workshop. The main reason is because I've been involved in both developing and working with response tools since back in 2009. We have developed some tools ourselves at NTNU, and we have also been using a lot of other response tools in class. The second reason why I think this is interesting is because some of you attended the framework assessment webinar before the weekend, where I talked a bit about policies and strategies. And one of the amazing thing in the national report from 2018 in Norway that are monitoring the digital conditions in Norway is that more or less every Norwegian teacher participating in that survey, which is quite big, they know about response tools. I think that there were more than 90%, 92% as far as I remember, of the teachers participating saying that they knew about response tools and they had access to using response tools in class. And then it's quite amazing to see that only 13% of the participants were actually using response tools on a regular basis. This means that even though we have a lot of access and we have the opportunity to use response tools in class, we're still not using it. And I'm a bit curious why we're not. I have been looking at your Padlet, and I will get back to that later. But for now, I just want to explain a bit more about the background, just to get you started. So what we're going to try to do, but I'm not going to do it as systematic as it seems on this overview, but I would like to allow you to become students in my class so that you're going to log on to my session. So I'll be running a couple of quizzes. This is also the reason why I haven't posted the slides beforehand. I will upload them later after the workshop is done, so that you will act as students in my class. I will go through a bit of the theoretical background, or say something about what and how and when response technology has been used and appeared. Then I will show off one of the response tools, my favorite tool, the one that I'm using every day when I'm lecturing, which is called iLike. And I will mainly focus on functionality, and I will try to show off the functionality via some quizzes, talk a bit about it, and you will also be able to access the system and look at the functionality yourselves. The main part of the workshop will, though, consist of a discussion about methodology. How can we actually use response tools to make language learning more efficient, better, and make the students learn even more than they would do without the tools? So you've already seen I've included a couple of Padlets, so we'll discuss a bit about Padlet and the difference between iLike and Padlet, for example, and I also have some questions for discussion at the end. And then we'll see how far we get, because we only have 1.5 hours, and I could probably do a couple of days at least with this. So we'll see how far we get. Okay, so the first thing I would like you to do is to open a web browser. I saw we had a short discussion in the stream of the classroom just before the session started, because it seems that in some computers they're having a bit of difficulty opening app1to-act when using a Chrome or using the Google Chrome browser. So if you have the option of, or if you are refused to open app1to-act, then try to open it in Safari, which should work as far as I know. On my Chrome it works, so I think I'm not sure why it doesn't work. But try to open it in Safari. And then you go to the address app.one2act.no. Enter the session code, which is TEGIZ, TEGIZ, the one that's displayed up here in the left corner of my screen. And then hit join session, and then you can close your phone, or you can just put away that address and wait for the voting to start. It will appear a white icon saying, please wait for the voting to start on your phone or your computer or where you're attending from. I just wanted to get this Zoom a bit bigger. Yep. Good. Okay. So then you're attending my class, and let's just see that you have logged on. So we'll start off with a short quiz, just to see who we're dealing with. So the quiz number 1 is, how much experience do you have with response technology? On your screen now, it will appear 5 alternatives: A, B, C, D, and E. Those compare to what I've written in my PowerPoint. So if you never tried response technology before, then you hit A. If you have some experience as a student, you hit B. If you have some experience as a teacher or a lecturer, then you use C. If you feel like a proficient user, then you hit D. Or if you're just there for the free lunch, which is not happening since we're online, then you hit E. Then I start the vote, and your alternative should appear. And then when you start voting, you can see my screen. I can see how many is logged on. I've only got 8 so far. So we're gonna let it run a bit while we're waiting for more people to get logged on to app@one2act.
Tord, I think somebody's asking again for the session code.
Yeah, it's I'm just trying to get my chat up on my Zoom, which doesn't wanna appear. The session code is TEGIZ.
It is written on the top.
Top left corner,
slide.
you can find it.
Yes, you can see it.
Got some more at least. Okay, while you're trying to get in, please just write in the chat if you're having difficulties. Thank you, Mike and Mikael, for posting the session code. So while you're voting, I can just say a couple of short things about the system. What you see is that when we're running I like, the system still cannot access. Are you trying on Chrome, Dora, or are you trying on Safari? Could you try and open a Safari browser and access through and try again? And like I wrote on the stream, if you're still having difficulties, I would appreciate if you do a screenshot and send it to me so that I can check it after the session. Otherwise, it should be possible to follow the workshop without accessing app Untitled also. But like I said in the stream, I tried 3 different devices and all were able to connect, so the security issues shouldn't be a problem, but it might be some internal rules at your university or anything. I'm not sure. I need to see what it says first. Okay, I'll continue. When I have this screen up, the system kind of closes everything that's behind, meaning that wherever I click in my window now, it's just frozen. If I want to move on with my session, I can just hit the I like button down in the right corner. The system goes down, then I can continue my presentation. So this is one of the reasons. Yeah, you can only see multiple answers, A, B, C, D, E. It's how it goes, Chris. I'm getting back to it. That's a bit what I'm trying to explain now. This is one of the reasons why I like, because it lays on top and it works with every kind of program that runs underneath. Whenever you're using cloud-based response tools like Mentimeter or Kahoot or something similar, then you will have to prepare everything beforehand, which you normally do. I have done today. I've prepared all the questions. I've put up all the alternatives in my PowerPoint. But during a lecture, when you have 2 times 45 minutes, every now and again, it might appear that some of the students have a question. You come across something that is interesting to discuss further, and you need to adjust your lecture somehow. That means that if you were to put it in the cloud or use one of the cloud-based systems, you would have to log into the system, rearrange your whole quiz, rearrange your whole lecture before you could move on. With iLike, you can just put it down, take up a Word document or write a new slide on your PowerPoint, and then you have all the questions. You could do it orally, you could do it on the blackboard or the whiteboard or whatever kind of access that you have. So I like this opportunity that it just lays on top. Sometimes in my lectures, I just put it up, my students log in like you've done now, and then I take it down again because I don't have to use it at all. And normally I don't have that many security issues like we had today, so I have to check what is happening. Okay, I'm going to stop the quiz now. You have this control panel where you, at all the time, you can see how many people are logged into my session. I got 14 users now. I can see that 12 out of the 14 has answered. I can explain about the flag later, Maria, if you want to. And I got my pause and my stop and my play button. Since Maria is asking about the flag, this little flag is an opportunity that you have inside the system on some of the questions that you can flag a question. That means that you are saying to the teacher, me, the lecturer, that there was something odd with the question, or there was something you were wondering about, or you want to give some extra attention to that question during the lecture. It's not used too often, but sometimes, every now and again, in big classes, students would like to flag a question because they want to discuss it more, either the phrasing or the intention behind it, or because they were very uncertain about what to answer. Okay, I'm stopping. you can see the responses from the whole class, Dora. When I stop, I get the responses immediately. And then I can compare them with what I have on the PowerPoint. It's anonymous, meaning that you will only get the common result or the general result from the whole group. And then the idea is that you're going to start walking through it and have a look at it and talk and discuss with it together with the students. So there are no people attending this session that are only here for the free lunch, which is good. We have some new users, 3 people, never used it before. Some have some experience as students, some has some experience as teachers, and I guess since you only had the opportunity to pick one alternative in this vote, some of you have both tried it as teachers and students, I guess. And we even have a couple of proficient, or we have one proficient user. Good, then I know what we're dealing with. Just want to show one more thing, because those of you who have tried it before, and those of you who knows how to or are used to doing lectures, you know that the analog. Okay, it did, Mikael. I'll have a look. You know, the analog response tool is of course just to ask a question, and then get the students to raise their hands, which is the more classical way of doing it. This is also good to know when you're starting to log in to use the system, that whenever you get astray or you're not sure where you are, just remember that you can always hit the finger in the air, and then you'll get back to your starting point. I'll get back to a bit more functionality later, but we'll move on. Good. So, why should we use response tools? Why should we use educational technology at all? Is a question. This is actually from a newspaper just 3 years ago, Dagbladet, one of the biggest newspapers in Norway. And these 2 pictures are taken at the same university from the same spot, only 60 years between, or as much as 60 years between. And can you see the difference? What is new? If you look at these 2 pictures, hopefully there is a new lecturer, not quite sure, but it might be. And we actually have a girl at the university in 2010, not in 1950. Probably there were some. Otherwise, it's completely the same, isn't it? It's exactly the same way of lecturing. No difference, like Skevi says. And they're doing mathematics on a blackboard, writing with chalk. The students are paying attention, taking notes, sitting, looking at the teacher. And even though this is 2010, with 2020, I'm not gonna say which university this is, by the way. I know which university it is, but I'm not gossiping. But it's the same all over Europe, isn't it? All over the world. We're still doing this, aren't we? Can you recognize this from either from your own lectures or from your colleagues? This is the way we do lectures at the higher education institutions. One teacher, one lecturer is talking, explaining to students who are following, trying to follow, and maybe every now and again they ask a question or they ask to explain a bit more, and then we answer them, and then we move on. And can I just, before we move on, if you ask a question, I saw that some have small classes, some have bigger classes. My lectures are normally consist of between 60 and 120 students. And if I ask a question, how many students do you think raise their hands? Or if you guys ask a question, how many % of the students actually raise their hands to answer? 1 or 2? 5%? 1 or 0 actually. But I think this is also common. I would normally say between 5 and 10%. Plenty. Good, Mike. Good. You're lucky. I would normally, yeah, I would say between 5 and 10% or 5 to 10 students would actually raise their hand to answer my question. And I can almost guarantee you that the 10 people raising their hands, they're sitting on the front row and they know the answer to the question. So I ask them and they explain and they give the correct answer, and I pat myself on the back and I'm thinking I'm a good teacher without having any clue about the 90% left, because they haven't answered and they maybe didn't know it. And then I just move on with my lecture because I think, okay, everybody knows this, so let's just move on. And then it becomes like this. And the only time that you're certain if they've understood it or not is when you do an assessment and you correct their papers, or you give them the exam and grade them. So one of the reasons, in my opinion, is to get more voices heard, and you get a bigger chance to evaluate your student group and know if what you're lecturing about is actually hitting the students and they're learning something from it. And we need to get away from this. We need to get more active learning, and we need to get the students more involved. Mainly because the students we are working with today, they are digital natives. These two pictures are from the Peter's Place in Rome, when the Pope is doing his one of his speeches, taken from more or less the same angle, same point in 2005, and then later in 2013. And in these pictures, it's pretty simple to see the difference. Only 8 years between, and in 8 years, everybody was taking pictures. Everybody was taking their handheld devices. And our kids are digital natives. Our students are digital natives. They haven't grown up without being connected to the internet all the time. Which means that we need to connect to their reality, and we need to use their what they bring to the table to actually improve our teaching, our lecturing. When we look at research, though, like I said, in Norway, only 13% of the participants are actually using response tools, even though they have immediate and free and good access to everything that they need. When we did a research back in 2013, comparing Norway and Russia, one of the things that we could clearly see was that in both countries, but especially in Russia, the schools and the governments were so reluctant towards including smartphones, tablets, even computers into the classroom, that they weren't able to get any benefits from it. Also in Norway, same as in Russia, as in this quote, same as also in Norway, we have these cell phone hotels. My oldest daughter, she's 15, and they have the cell hotel, which means that when they come to school, they have to put their cell phones in a hotel, close the door, and then they get back after the class. And then they go into class and they look at the teacher lecturing and they do some tasks. And in the spare time, they go to their cell phones and they start connecting to the world outside. So one of my reasons for including some educational technology in lectures is because it connects more to their real life. On a big side note, exams, because we are throughout the year, I'm urging my students to collaborate. I urge them to go online, Google stuff, figure out what they're doing, and then I give them a 5-hour exam where they're sitting one by one, without any collaboration, without any access to technology, without any access to the internet, which is so different from how we live our everyday lives. Even for me, who is a bit older than my students, they are connected all the time, but we don't give them the opportunity to actually work in a dynamic and natural way. So I would like us to move on. And one of the things that is easy to implement, one of the things that is easy to use and that gives some immediate effect is response tools. So I like again, just to show another functionality. This is a map of Norway. And like I said, I'm located in Trondheim, which is one of the campuses of NTNU. And I would like you to try and guess where Trondheim is in Norway. Then I choose a different functionality. All the functionalities are down here, where you have A, B, C, D, E right now, down in the right corner. And this time I would like to do something called tag it. When I hit tag it, it changes to pink. And then I'm able to put up alternatives in the map. So is Trondheim located up here? Is it located down here? Is it out west? Am I actually sitting out in the ocean now? Or is it down here? Now you're only allowed to hit one alternative. This was the problem, Mikael, that when you have this one on, 1+, you're allowed to mark more than one alternative. Taking that off. And I'm also doing a live display of that data now, so that you will see what the others are voting. So now you have the alternatives, A, B, C, D, E. Where is Trondheim located? I'm still waiting for a couple of answers before I stop it. No. I'll stop it now. Okay, so most of you thought that Trondheim was here in the middle of the country, which is, it doesn't really matter what is correct or not, but this one is correct. This is Trondheim. We are more or less in the middle of the country. If you cut this one out with scissors, the map of Norway, and you put it on a needle, then the geographical middle center would be right here in Verdalen. Might students play follow the leader? Yes. This is why I did the live display of the data, Mike, because since you probably know that some of the people attending this workshop are from Trondheim or are located in Trondheim, at least are Norwegian, it's easy to see that the first response seems correct and then people would follow. So if you don't want that effect, then you would turn off the live display of data. The other places here, this is Svalbard. It doesn't matter, Marcelo, that's fine. Up here is Svalbard, which is an island that is also belonging to Norway. This is Lofoten, approximately, which is maybe the best place to be a tourist in Norway, the most scenic place. This should be Bergen, a bit far north. Bergen is a bit down there, beautiful city. Only problem is there are a lot of people from Bergen there, but we won't go into that. And this is the capital, Oslo. Okay, we're moving on. You kind of knew it. Have you been to Norway before? Anyone? Maybe. Some of you. You wish. Anna has been 4 times, Maria. If you have the opportunity, you should come to Trondheim, and you should come to Norway, and you should go to Trondheim, which is the most beautiful city in Norway. Very objective. We'll move on. you've done your Padlet. We can open it, of course, just to have a look. But we were asking, why should one use educational technology when doing language learning? You can find this, so I'm not gonna read everything. But I have some interesting points, because looking at response tools, there are not too many that are kind of designed for language learning. There are a lot of the response tools out there that more or less only include multiple choice answers, which is brilliant for the STEM fields. But when you're doing language learning, both grammar and literature and communication and academic writing and everything, you need something more. You need more than just multiple choice in order to vary and make it dynamic and make the students learn something from it. And I see that a lot of you have answered this, that you need something to start creating discussion, start creating engagement, start creating motivation to actually engage and get involved in the curriculum. So you need a different tool than, for example, Kahoot or Mentimeter or something like this. You need something that is designed or made especially for language learning, that includes a bit more of text, that includes a bit more of opportunities to play around with language. I hope during this session that you will see that iLike is a tool that can actually give you some more opportunities than maybe the response tools that you have tried from before. Get back here, sorry. But you can go into the Padlet later, and I'll also post it and make a discussion page in the classroom so that we can discuss it more, why it could be used and how it could work. In my opinion, what do you gain from educational technology? What do you gain from including technology in your lectures? Well, first of all, the obvious thing is that you get student involvement. And you especially get student involvement through their engagement and their motivation. Research done also at NTNU shows that when the students have actually voted for one alternative, if you give them the opportunity to discuss, they will defend their answers. And this is not just because of educational technology, but it's because somehow the students have thought through it, and they want to defend or discuss or give arguments for their answers and their solution to the case or to the question. When you give them the opportunity to do this anonymously, even though if they don't have a lot of opinions early on, when they have voted something, when they have engaged in their answer, they will defend it and they will try to find good arguments for explaining why they've answered like they did. This creates a brilliant opportunity for engaging in peer learning, making the students learn from each other, making the students discuss, making the students argue to each other. And it also gives you as a teacher a possibility to diagnose your group. Like I said in the beginning, if you ask a question to a student group of 60 students, 5 students will raise their hand and try to answer the question. Doing it with response tools or any other kind of educational technology, they will all, or at least 91% of the group will actually deliver an answer, meaning that you as a teacher will know better how well they know the curriculum. Looking at response tools, which is what we're talking about in this session. Response tools gives immediate feedback both to the student and to the teacher. You as a teacher get the feedback if they've understood or not, and the students get the feedback if they are at least aligned with the rest of the group. You can find a lot of dynamic and flexible systems, which allows the teacher to facilitate the usage, not just letting the students use their phones for whatever they want, but actually you as a teacher, you take control over the usage of the new technology and you allow them to use it. And of course, response tools are extremely easy to use and extremely easy to integrate into already existing lectures. It doesn't have to take a lot of time. You don't have to do everything from scratch. You can just do what you have been doing more or less all the time, but you're just doing it in a different way and you include more. So, one more functionality. Looking at response tools or imagining that you're using response tools in your lecture. What would you need from a response tool if you are doing language learning? This time I'm going to open a text box for you guys. Go back here. So the only thing that you're getting on your screens now is that you're getting a box. You hit somewhere inside the box, and then you can start typing. So I would like you just to type in, I would prefer if you use keywords. What do you need from a response tool to use it for language learning? So then you can start typing. When you're done, you can hit send answer or submit answer. And then you will see that it flashes a bit pink. But you can always change your answer, and it's the latest submitted answer that will appear on the screen, on my screen. And I also know this is a dangerous task to give to language learners or language teachers because we like to write and we like to speak. So it might be very long text. But if you can keep it short and concise, it would be good.
I wrote and I clicked on send, but I haven't received anything. And I think I sent the same thing twice.
Yeah, but that's fine. You can send it 3 or 4 or 5 times. It will still only appear the last thing that you sent. But what you should see is that it should kind of flash up a bit pink when you hit the send answer, and then it will be registered.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I will stop it on 2 minutes and 10 seconds. I got some answers. So if you haven't submitted yet, then please hit the send answer or submit answer. Okay, and instead of, no, I'm gonna stop it anyways. I'm stopping it. You will have 2 different displays of these answers now. The first one, the default one, is that you're getting a word cloud. Let's see, can I drag it a bit? Just want it a bit bigger. Because normally it's the common answer from the group that we're looking for. So we're looking for what kind of what the group as a whole says. What you can see is that feedback has an underlining, which means that somebody probably has written feedback several times in the same text. You have some opportunities to play around a bit with the text. You can remove bad words, for example, because students, even 20-year-olds, but at least when you do this at a primary or a secondary school, they will pretty soon they will figure out that, oh, everything that I'm writing will appear on the big screen for all my classmates to see. And we all know what 12 or 13-year-old boys would write then. So you have the opportunity to ignore the bad words so that all bad words are removed, at least the ones that are behind. And I can also ignore what we call shouting, meaning that if somebody has written feedback 400 times after each other, I could ignore shouting, and then it will be, that answer would be removed. It's not that interesting now, but I had when I did this back in 2015, I think, in the Netherlands at the Eurocall conference, one of my colleagues thought this was really fun just to see how many times he could write the same word. So we wrote it like 450 times after each other, just copy paste, and then the whole system crashed. So then we figured out we needed something like this. If I want to look at something that is really interesting, for example, sequence, I can hit sequence, double click it, and then I will go directly to the answer. Voice response, conversation, sequence of questions. Okay, if I wanted to see all the responses like this, I can go to what we call a frequency list, where I got all of the responses. The reason why this one appears like AI3 is because I've logged into a couple of other devices and I don't respond to these quizzes. So this is open. It means that a couple of devices hasn't answered. And then you can look at the answers and you can give some feedback on it. So what you would want is an automated correction in audio. This one is interesting. And some feedback tool, yeah. Instant feedback, ease of use. If that's sufficient, then we're good. Interactivity, the student should be able to give feedback to one another. Okay, so some kind of collaborative tool or a collaboration online. Easy to use, extremely important. The minute educational technology becomes difficult to use, then teachers will find something else. Spur of the moment answers, on the fly answers, immediate feedback, good. Text and speech, both question and response. Multimodal in general would be preferable. Aggregated and individual responses, good. To be effective, to help learners to learn. Variety, voice response. Okay, good. I'm closing it again. Again, this is the way I'm showing off the functionality. So I wanted to show you it's not a problem that I remove the answers, because the next little box is an archive showing results. So all the quizzes that we have been doing so far will always be archived, and you can go and find it immediately. And they are also logged in your session, which you can access after the lecture is done. And you can also print all the results to Excel and so on. The name of the application is iLike, and I'll post it. The response tool is iLike, and you can find it on 12act.no. You can also find all this information in the classroom, Skevi. I've put it out as a pre-activity number 2, I think, or 1. Download the software so you can get access to your own version of it. Good. So yeah, where was I? So we need some kind of functionality, and this was the reason why we started making iLike back in 2012 also, because we saw that the response tools that were out there, they weren't designed for language learning. We need more when it comes to language learning. So one of the main things that we needed was that we needed the opportunity to do a bit more text. Now we have to say that when we did iLike, or when Anthony made iLike back in 2012 till 2014, it was the first response tool in Europe that included text response, and that made it directly into a word cloud. Today you can find a lot of different tools doing the same. Maybe the most popular one, or the most commonly used one, is Mentimeter, which has the same functionality. The only difference, or the main difference, is that Mentimeter is cloud-based, meaning that you have to prepare all the questions before the lecture, but then you can run it with text response, and you can get a good good word cloud from it. But we made a couple of other things with iLike that not all the other systems have, of course. I'm going to show some more. Just wanted to show you one more thing. When you have all these buttons here, you have the live display, you have the voice or the sound, sorry. You also have the opportunity to run with timer, meaning that when you put on the timer, you can choose how much time you want to give the students. So if it's default 1 minute because we have text response, but I can also give them more time, or I can give them less time. Meaning that once again, you as a teacher have the opportunity to facilitate or to moderate or decide on the usage. How much time should they get, making it more time efficient. I'm not a big fan. I like to monitor and see how much time they're using and when I can stop it. But you have the opportunity of actually presetting time so that they don't overspend time. The last little button down here, the 3 dots, is the menu where you can find a lot of different things. I'm going to show a couple of them afterwards. But you can find QR codes to log on the session, and you can find information about the system. You can find how to extract to Excel and so on. Not too interesting, a lot of it. You can look at it yourselves, and then we'll get back to what is most interesting afterwards. We can also do graphs, Burcu. We'll get there. Okay, so the first thing that we saw was that we need a lot of different functionality. We need more functionality than in a lot of the more normal response tools, where multiple choice is the default and the one that is being used the most. I've already shown you a couple of these functionalities, and I just want to point out a couple of more that might be useful. Can I just ask, without using response, at what level are you teaching? Are you at higher education, high schools, secondary education, primary education?
I'm teaching at university level.
University level.
Yeah, and usually B2, C1s,
Okay,
more or less.
perfect. Anyone down at the primary level? Lower secondary level, okay. Secondary and adult general, primary, higher education, university. Okay, so we got a bit of a spread. This system, I like. The primary target group was actually a secondary education between 12 and 15-year-olds. So it was designed for them. And one of the first things that was included was what we call tag words, which you can find here. In tag words, you kind of write sentences. Great job, everybody. Let's find the unicorns. And when I put it out now, when I start the timing, you'll get an opportunity to actually click on different words. And the task might have been identify the only fantasy animal in the text. And then you're supposed to hit something. Peer deck works for primary, yeah. Agree, Lana. I'm just gonna stop this because it wasn't a real quiz. Just want to show how it appears. So then it appears like this, and you can start manipulating text, and you can start working with it together with your students or together with your pupils. And you can do a lot of different stuff with it inside. This was the kind of the starting point. And then we figured out that we don't want to build this just for primary and secondary education. We want to make it more universal, and we want to also include stuff that we can use at higher education, or that is more useful more learning from higher education. So we made, I see that time is running, so I'm a bit fast now. We made something called a word pool, where you're able to write a sentence, and then you can put in some additional words, and then you can change, or you can drag and drop words from the word pool into the sentence to try to create the correct meaning or the semantic new meaning, and so on. The same is with the word pool, where you get additional words that you can drag into the sentence and check the grammar understanding. What is really interesting, but not enough developed, is that you got something called a sentence manipulator inside. This one is connected directly to, let's see, tokens. Everybody is an actor, for example. This sentence manipulator is connected directly to NLTK, Natural Language Toolkit, which is an underlying intelligent tutoring system that recognizes English grammar. And you can also, here you can do a lot about it, and you can drag it and drop it and move it around, and you can tokenize it, and you can make it text. One of the interesting things is that you're able to auto tag words, and hopefully, as long as it works, it didn't. Why not? You should be able to connect directly to the natural language toolkit, so that they should auto tag what kind of grammatical classes that the different words belong to, and so on. You can also go into, then I have to tokenize it. Suddenly it appeared. You can also go into the different words and analyze the sentences, and you can find synonyms, or you can find the correct way to bend verbs, for example. But it was too slow, so something is, maybe it's my computer that is really slow right now. But you have a lot of, yeah, I maybe I should, Mikael, I kind of skipped it. The problem here is that now it's trying to connect to some underlying systems, and a lot of the stuff that I like is built on is starting to be a bit obsolete, like Adobe and Flash. So this didn't seem to work. Doesn't matter. Let's move on. But it means that you have some type of functionality inside I like that can actually help you as a language teacher to create different types of tasks. And this is what I wanted to talk a bit about today, or discuss a bit today. First of all, just wanted to check ABC. Have you made your own iLike account? Have you done your pre-activity? Yes, no, or did not understand how to do it, or wasn't able to do it? And now you can hear the ticking sound, I hope. Counting down, it will get worse. Oh, big. Okay, some have not. If you haven't created your own iLike account, you can see how you get access in the classroom. on your pre-activity, and it's totally free, and it's easy to download and install on a USB stick, and you can bring it wherever you want, and then you can access the different functionalities yourselves. If you don't have a teacher access, then send me an email or send an email to the One2Act people, and they will grant you teacher rights as soon as they see the email. No sound, okay, but that's good because it's quite annoying, the sound, at least when you hear it every day. But according to our social cognitivists that were involved in the project, the students loved the sound because it kind of woke them up, and then they needed to pay attention and they needed to do something. So we're told to always keep the sound on. You can turn it off if you want to. I guess that it was very quiet because the sound was connecting from somewhere else on my computer, I guess. So maybe you just heard the back noise from my computer in my office. What I wanted to talk about is how to use it. And I wanted to talk about methodology because this is my main concern with all educational technology. Because technology is just technology. You need to figure out ways to use it. Technology is nothing without methodology behind. It doesn't matter how fancy it looks. It doesn't matter how well it works. It doesn't matter how intriguing it is for the students. If you don't use it in a methodological and good way, then it will not give any effect on the learning. So it doesn't matter the tools. What matters is that you have the tools to actually do what you want to do. John Anderson said it back in 2011, that pedagogy and technology are intertwined in a dance. The technology sets the beat and creates the music, while the pedagogy defines the move. And what we have been concerned about at NTNU and several other places all over the world for many years is how to use response tools and how to use other educational technology. I wanted to show a couple of different ways of using response tools in the classroom, and I want to do it via quizzes. Okay, so too far. This is kind of a classical quiz. So we don't have to run it because it's so simple, but you could use it at primary or secondary school. In this case, we have been talking about conjugation probably, and maybe some subject-verb agreements or anything in class. And we like to check if the students are following or if the pupils are following. Then you could do a word pool, meaning that you give the matter I, a boy, and then you give some conjugated verbs to choose for. M is R. And then it's the students or the pupils' tasks to drag and drop the correct word into the sentence to make it become I am a boy, hopefully. This is a classical way. This is a way just to check the students' perception, their understanding, how well they have paid attention, and so on. One way to do it, and one way to use response tools. And I guess most of you have probably used Kahoot, and this is what Kahoot is based on, for example, just trying to figure out the correct answer. And this is interesting in its own way, and it's useful for a lot of cases, but I'm not quite sure if this is the best way of lecturing or enhancing learning in a student group. So what we would like to do is to kind of move on at least to conceptual questions. And since you're language learners, we're going to try to do some mathematics. So if we pose this question, 2 plus 3 times 4 equals A, 14, B, 20, C, 13, or D, 11. I'll give you the alternatives. I'll take the timer off. So 2 plus 3 times 4 equals A, 14, B, 20, C, 13, or D, 11. And I do hope that you're puzzling a bit with it, because I'm a language teacher, and this is I always trouble when I do mathematics, even with my daughters on 11 and 15. Difficult stuff. Good, Mauro. I'll stop it at 1 minute. If you want to try and answer. Okay. I actually got this question from my colleagues, because we're teaching at the, or lecturing at the preparatory course for engineering studies. And he uses this question in the beginning of the school year every year. It sounds really simple, but the students are always struggling with answering correct, since we don't have the parentheses in here. But this is a way of for the mathematicians to check if the students are remembering what to do first, what kind of action comes first. The idea with this conceptual question is that, again, the most important thing isn't that the students answer correctly, which is, can I just ask Mikael, which alternative is the correct?
You first do multiplication and then addition.
Good, Mikael. I trusted that you knew it, by the way. So, which means that A would be the correct answer. The correct answer, at least. But the interesting thing is how the students are thinking. Because if they remember which action to do first, like Mikael said now, that first you do the multiplication, then you do the adding, then they will get to 14. If they don't remember it, it might be easy to get to 20, because then you're doing the adding first, so that you kind of get the thing is 2 plus 3 is 5 times 4 is 20. The important thing is that the teacher always explains, what are you thinking when you're answering A, 14? What are you thinking when you're answering B, 20? What are you thinking if you're answering C, 13 or D, 11? Because in this way, the students will not only be provided the correct answer, but they will also be provided some kind of explanation on how they were thinking if they do the incorrect answer. I would like to even move on, because one thing is to do conceptual questions, conceptual quizzes, talking about something else than just the correct answer. But I'm very concerned about enhancing learning strategies, self-regulated learning, making the students aware of how they think, make the students aware of how they are actually achieving or understanding the curriculum. Okay, Mauro is asking, how do I access what you're showing? The only way to access what I'm showing, you cannot find it online, because this is incorporated in the session that I'm running with my session code, TGIS. So the only way to access what I'm showing, or to see what I'm showing, is to actually watch the screen. This is another good thing about this response tool, that instead of having the students sitting down looking in their cell phones or in their computers one by one, they actually have a common focus area. Everybody is watching me when I'm doing the quiz and when I'm explaining, because the results are only displayed on the big screen where I'm standing. So you have to watch the screen, you have to watch me while I'm explaining what we're doing. I would like to do, and we have started doing some research on this, enhancing learning strategies. So instead of just me explaining, and once again, we can have a look at your results. So 3 of you answered B, 5 of you answered A. What I would like to do is that instead of just explaining, I would ask the students. I would open the text response, and I would say, okay, before we display the results, I would like you to explain, why did you answer what you did? And now you're allowed to explain yourselves. Why did you answer A or B? Why did you answer 14? Why did you answer 20? Nobody wants to answer. There we go. And again, this would be difficult for the students if you ask them orally, at least in the beginning of the year when they don't know all their peers. If you ask them to explain why did you answer incorrectly, they would never answer anything. But if you ask them like this, it's anonymously, and they will see the benefits because they will see that other students were thinking the same as they were doing. Meaning that it's easier to get them involved in their own learning experience and in their own learning strategies. Since we're only demonstrating here, I will stop in 15 seconds. So if you want to answer, then you have to hit submit answer pretty soon. Yes, it is, Mauro. I'm stopping. And then again, I get it displayed as a word cloud or a frequency list. And I could go in and I could see if you were thinking correctly or exactly. And then I would probably go into this answer and I would say, okay, but remember that it will always be multiplication first and so on. I'm gonna move on because as you can see, the time flies a bit. I'm not used to doing it in 1.5 hours, so hopefully we'll have the time later this week to discuss at least in the classroom a bit more. I'm a literature guy, so if I want to enhance some discussion in class, for example, I could also use response tools. Let's say that we read the novel Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. And whenever we read texts, I'm always interested in listening to my students to see what they've understood and what they think that the thematics is about. So then I could give them, just as a beginning of the discussion, I could give them 4 different alternatives like prostitution, revenge, moral, or deadly sins, which I guess that my students, they would spread a bit on all 4 alternatives, depending on their level of reading skills and interpretation skills. Again, the beauty of it is that if they answer something, they will argue about it. They will discuss it. They will engage in their answer, and they will try to defend it towards their peers. So it's a good way to get more students involved in the discussion, to get them engaged, to get them motivated to actually discuss stuff that my engineering students aren't that interested in at the beginning. We're not going to do this now. I don't know how long it's been since you read Crime and Punishment anyway, so we'll move on to the next one. One of the things that one should investigate, and I will post some of these articles in the classroom also, because Kjetil Nielsen did a doctoral degree back in 2014. And what he did was that he was monitoring and he made more than 250 hours of video from classes where they used a response tool. And what he saw was using peer instruction, i.e. that he didn't give the answers in the beginning, but he let the students discuss what they were actually doing, argue and make their arguments for their opinion. And what he saw was that the argumentation time increased with 91% when he used the response tool, when everybody, or we had approximately 92% participating in every vote. And then the argumentation time increased with 91%. And the best thing is that most of the increase of time was actually spent on discussing stuff related to curricula, not just discussing or talking, chit-chatting, but actually discussing the subjects, which actually proves that, or which leads us to think that this will actually increase the learning effect. And that is at the end, that is the most important thing, that they should learn better by using educational technology, not only enjoy more the learning effect, they should actually learn some more also. Okay, so then I've gotten to the discussion part where I would open up a bit. Almost have to ask Mikael to get another 1.5 hours later this week to do it more thoroughly, but I'm not gonna. We'll stay in touch anyways. But I was wondering, response technology, is it something that would work in your classroom? Why or why not? Anybody want to share? Could you use response technology, or are you using it in an efficient way? No one wanna. I
Sure.
could do it anonymously, of course, and do it with response tool, but
I'll just say yes.
good, Mike.
Why? Well, it's classic continuous assessment, formative.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think very important. It relates back to a lot of Dylan Williams' writings. I believe that the nature of the questions you ask can be revealing about the type of error.
Yeah, for sure. And if you probably, I've seen you in a lot of sessions, so you probably also attended the pedagogical overview on Thursday, was it, Mike?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and where you can find the pedagogy behind this response tool thinking, also when you look at the question-based learning, which is the way that we want to think about it, at least. But you're saying formative assessment. Would you need, or when you use response tools, do you actually grade it or mark down the notes, or do you just think about it as a formative assessment for the students?
I think I would normally make some notes in formative assessment anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of formative being formative of the teacher as well as the learner.
Yeah. Good. Thanks. I'm seeing in the chat now. I'm just gonna. I saw a couple of notes that I just wanna comment on. Or Dora, you say that Kahoot works quite well because you have very large groups, and Google Forms works. Could you just, if you're able, Dora, could you elaborate a bit on what are the advantages of Kahoot?
Well, in the case of Kahoot, it gives this game-like atmosphere in the classroom, especially now in the online classroom. But also, I used it in, when we had the face-to-face sessions as well. And it works really nice because it has this game-like character. And I find that even though my students, they are all adults, they're still, they like games. So they find it very interesting to compete with each other and respond as quickly as possible. Plus, we used it with learners of Italian, and we ran an experiment, and we found that while revising vocabulary items, it helps with long-term retention more than rather than a simple multiple choice on pen and paper that because we had 2 classrooms and we ran an experiment with both of them, and we saw that with Kahoot students retained the vocabulary items which they revised via Kahoot for a much longer time. So it works very well, and especially with large groups, because imagine that we have, especially now that we're online, we might have more than 100 students joining our classes. So it's impossible, even if we wanted each one to participate, it gives an opportunity for every single person to give an answer. Of course, provided they do have the necessary equipment to do so, because sometimes they don't, they don't have both a computer and a smartphone available because the whole family is using all the media at home. So
yeah, I understand.
Yeah, that's my experience.
No, but beautiful, thank you. And I always find it, we use in my classroom, we use Kahoot once a week, every Friday at the end of the week, and we use it like to summarize the week, and we give out a prize or a bag of candy to the student winning. My small little problem with Kahoot, Kahoot is also developed or was developed at NTNU back in 2008-9, and then sold. My little problem is exactly the gamification of it, that the students immediately get very, very concerned about answering correct or answering better than the others. And they're very concerned about winning. So I kind of like using or Mentimeter or Socrative or Padlet or anything else during the week, just to have the focus on the learning effects. But I do see that Kahoot is a bit sexier and makes a bit more noise and has a bit more colors than a lot of the other response tools. So please use it as much as you can. Using a lot of Google Forms, using online polls using polls during online classes. You don't use it with your youngest students, Chris. Why not? You should, I see, but any particular reason why you don't use it with your youngest students? Mm-hmm.
Hi. I don't use it much because not because I don't want to. I've just actually been limited to polls. We use MS Teams. A lot of them have tech issues. We don't have a very good infrastructure at school, so it's a bit of a struggle tech-wise. Okay, but I do find it very useful, so I might actually just, I'm not saying that, it's inappropriate. It's just that, with the technology we have a lot of tech issues. So that's why I have limited it to polls, using MS Teams.
Yep.
But of course I could make more of an effort.
Yeah, but that is the issue all the time, and I see that Mikael is also posting that up in the chat, that the only problem is that using response tools requires preparation. Response tools isn't anything new. It was the first response tools were used already in the 60s, even in education, and it was quite big in the 80s. But in the 80s and all the way until almost 2010. The normal way of doing it was actually bringing around clickers. I don't know if you have any experience with like normal clickers that where you had a base station and you had the devices and you had to bring them back and forth to class. Anyone used those before? Hopefully not.
I saw them on films. Yeah.
Saw them in videos, you saw them on game shows on TV. Mikael has attended a conference where they use clickers. And it was a lot of hassle. It's so much easier today when you can put it in the cloud, or you can, like this one, when you're saying it requires a lot of preparation, Mikael, in my opinion, if you download, for example, you have it on a USB stick, you put it in your pocket and you go to the classroom wherever you're doing a lecture. The preparation lies once again in preparing the questions and preparing what you actually want from the learning effect from it, which is something that we more or less already do. As long as you don't have to go online and prepare every question before the class, it doesn't have to take additional time, in my opinion, or in my experience at least. So it depends a bit on the tool that you're picking, but when you use clickers and at that conference, that requires a lot of preparation. You have to bring it back and forth, and you have to deliver it out, and you have to make sure everything works. And today it's so much easier because everything is online, and you only require internet access and access to the software behind. So, okay, I would like to jump down. Yeah, exactly, Maria. And you also asked, Maria, if you work together in groups. In Kahoot, you're able to make group answers directly. And this is my third question here, that could response tools enhance collaborative work in class? And this is quite interesting. We just received funding for a new project called I Like It Too, actually, that started in the beginning of January, where our goal is to make a collaborative response tool that can actually connect IP addresses randomly in classroom and thank you, and make them work together on a shared screen somehow. And we're gonna include the functionalities that we need and everything. But do we see any possibility of enhancing collaborative work through response technology? Any ideas? Could it work?
There is something I kind of have on a wish list for response technologies, which relates to the certainty of the answers.
Yep.
Secondary school teachers may be familiar with what they call a grammar auction, which is similar to the TV game Money Drop, I think exists in different forms, so that students make if you like, a wager on how certain they are of the answer.
Yeah.
So rather than just looking at yes, no, we're looking at, in a way, we're taking it back to how machines do error-driven learning, which is based on a Bayesian prior probability and a likelihood of an outcome. But we're not actually giving learners the opportunity to express their certainty.
Very, very good, and very happy that you're saying it, Mike, because that is the first thing that we are actually working on right now. That we, or almost what we want to do is that we want to give the students the opportunity to vote up and down the possible answers, and if we're able to make that work, I'm not a programmer, so but if we're able to make that work, it should also be possible to put in an indicator on certainty, or and maybe even the program could accumulate the different certainties from the students attending that group or that voting. So
yes, I mean, I think I could be very revealing. For instance, the case of fossilization, somebody might reply with absolute certainty and get it wrong.
Yeah.
And then we're not over penalizing students who are simply unsure and making a guess.
Yeah, it is a bit what they tried to do, or we tried to do in I Like with the flagging, that you should be able to express some kind of uncertainty towards your answer, but accumulating it would be cool, actually. That could be nice.
And I think that works absolutely ideally in a collaborative environment.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
They can discuss as a group why they're uncertain and come to a collective answer.
I agree. Oh, good. I also saw Lalani says that she was working or creating a story part by part on Padlets, which is a good way of using educational technology and interact with each other, for sure. And you got several, of course, you have a lot of technologies already that allows you to collaborate online. But the main idea should be somewhat to connect the immediate responses that you get from stuff like I Like with the collaborative work. Really sorry, guys, but time is running, so we will have to close it up. I put out a post activity in the classroom because, like those of you who have attended before, you know that we are running these webinars 3 times. Supposed to run them 3 times, so we're supposed to improve and make it better, make a difference from time to time. So if you could attend my Padlets during the next couple of days, just leave some remarks. Any critique, any constructive feedback is very welcomed. I just wanna point out that when you're doing this post activity, I'm not letting you be anonymous, and that is not because I'm gonna figure out who is saying what and who is giving the hardest critique. It's just because if somebody writes something really interesting, or if I need some elaboration or some additional feedback, then I will allow myself to contact you and just ask. So hopefully you will leave some comments so that I can rearrange and do an even better webinar next time. If you have any questions, anything that you want to ask about, then feel free either to contact us in the classroom or send me an email directly on tur.m.talmo@ntnu. And then hopefully we'll keep in touch, and hopefully you'll enjoy the rest of the week also.